today we're going to wrap up the Daisy Jones and the Six vlog. I finished the book in like a few days and then I just binge watched the series, and the series was actually really good. I've heard mixed opinions about it, so I wasn't sure what to expect exactly, but I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. It was not exact. There were lots of changes. For the TV adaptation, I actually think that the changes were good, some of them. So I'm just going to go through some of the characters and explain like what my thoughts and opinions were. So I love Camilla in the book and in the show. I think that she just is incredible. She's more like chilled out in the book. Like she seems so easygoing, but I kind of like the way that she stands up for herself a little bit more in the show. Yeah, she stands up for herself and like won't deal with this shit as much. She gets more like angry and emotional rather than always being forgiving, which I think is a good like way to represent her as a character. Graham, oh my god, Graham looks so different to what I imagined him to look like. I thought he was going to be like bigger and like bulkier for some reason. I don't know why. I barely read the descriptions in books of characters because I just like visualizing whatever I think their personality matches. Yeah, even like personality and everything for Graham, it seems kind of different, but again, I'm not mad about it. I think it works well in the show, and in the book I like him for the way he is in the book. Daisy is perfect. Like she is just absolutely perfect in the show. The only thing is she doesn't seem as like bad, like her drug and alcohol addiction doesn't seem as bad in the show as it does in the book. There's obviously the one episode where it gets quite bad when she marries Nicky, but I still think that it just, I don't know, it wasn't as evident throughout the entire show. It was just that one episode. Okay, also, Nicky, I hated him so much in the show and the book. He's a dickhead, but like in the show they don't make you hate him as much as he needs to be hated. Like he is such a bad person, and he like assaults her, and he like doesn't help her when she's like overdosed. He just leaves her on the floor. But like in the show, there's the only scene that it really shows how bad of a person he is when he leaves her on the floor in the shower when she's overdosed and doesn't do anything. But like there are so many other scenes and moments that lead up to that, and like so many red flags showing that he is a bad person that they didn't put in the show. So you kind of like, if I hadn't read the book, I think I would be thinking, oh yeah, he's like decent, whatever, like he seems alright, like he does drugs and stuff, which isn't a great influence on her, but like he seems like a decent human being. And then he just lets her, like he leaves her laying on the bathroom floor, and then you realise, shit, we don't like Nicky. But there was like no lead up to that at all. There was no build up. It just was very strange the way that they did it in the movie. I didn't like that. Like I liked the scene was really good, but I didn't like the build up to that scene. I feel like he was a lot worse of a person in the book, and that needed to be represented a little bit more. I also think that like when I think she threw a pot plant at him in the show, and then he went to like hit her and all the guys stepped in to like stop it. But I think that played out differently in the book. I feel like he did end up abusing her, and then one of the guys ended up realising that she looked like she had been hit, and that's when that kind of happened. So differences, obviously you're going to expect differences in every adaptation, but it just, some of them were a bit iffy. Eddie absolutely sucks. I hate Eddie in the book and the show. He is just terrible. He is just, and oh, I don't like him at all. I don't know, I feel for him. I do have that sympathy side to it because obviously he does get like rejected and everything, but he just whinges and carries on so much. Oh, Billy seems so much nicer in the show than he is in the book. Like he has like little fits sometimes in the show, but he gets over them so fast. In the book, he will have like a fit going over such a long period of time, and like he won't give in. He's just so determined to be angry at the world and to hate Daisy, and I don't think it really shows how much he can't be around her because of the drugs. Like that kind of is just touched on like in one or two scenes, but in the book that's such a prominent like feature to why he doesn't want to be around her. It's not because he hates her or anything, it's just that he doesn't want to be around that. He can't be around her, or he might start doing drugs again and he might relapse, and yeah, it doesn't really touch on that too much in the show. Oh, one thing though as well is I do root for Camilla and Billy so much more in the show than I did in the book. In the book I was kind of like a bit like kind of want Daisy and Billy to happen. In the show, I really felt bad for Camilla, and I think it's because she stands up for herself a lot more in the show. So maybe that was why I felt worse for her. Oh, and Simone, she has a lot of focus in the show. She doesn't in the book, really. She's more of a side character. I don't know if I like her. I don't love that they spent like half an episode on her and her relationship that doesn't actually even exist in the book. I feel like it was a bit of a waste of half an episode. Especially because there's not going to be a season 2 or anything like that where they can develop that relationship more, because it's just based on the book. So I feel like that was a waste of half an episode. But like, I wasn't mad about it. Like, it was a good story, but it just seemed a bit weird. Like, they didn't need to do that. Touching on Simone still, I do really like how in the show she did a concert with the band, because it brought her into it a little bit more. I feel like that was something that was necessary and like added to the story. I did love how she did a performance with them, because it got to show you her talent, because in the book her talent and her like career isn't described very well, I don't think. Maybe that was just me not reading it properly, like I wasn't as into it in that scene or something. But yeah, I think that was a good add-in. Okay, now I'm just gonna talk about some of the scenes and how I felt about them. So one of the scenes that just had like such an emotional roller coaster in the book was that pool scene where she jumped in this sparkly dress and like she floated around, and then Billy and I think it was Teddy came in and she stepped on the glass, and it was so like, it was so intense. And they did do it in the show, but they just absolutely butchered it. Like, there was no emotion behind anything, and it was such a like anticlimactic scene. Like, it didn't really show how much Billy was struggling in that moment to like see Daisy in that way and in that state. And it was, I don't know, I just didn't like that scene. I thought it was so like just kind of chucked to the side and like not very memorable, whereas in the book that was one of the biggest like scenes for the two main characters. Next, the album cover situation. I feel like this is one of those scenes where it was perfect in the book for the book, but in the show it worked out really well for in the show. So like, they didn't really introduce the photographer too much as a character, and didn't make like show you as much of his career and how much that photo shoot like helped him take off. And even like the photo album cover wasn't even the same. But I think in the show they did it well for the show. So like, they made Camilla a part of it, and she's the one who took the photo of them arguing, and then she got to see them arguing and really like got an insight into Billy and Daisy's relationship, and that led on to the storyline for the show and how the show was trying to like develop those relationships. I don't love or hate the scene, I just think that they're completely different and they're both good for the type of media that they are in, I guess. Oh, and the wedding between Nikki and Daisy, there was such a build up in the show, which I actually did like enjoy. I thought that in the book they kind of brushed over them getting to know each other and brushed over like the descriptive language for where they were. So like, you didn't really get the description of like them being in Greece and all like the beautiful colours and everything, and where they were living and stuff like that. So it was kind of hard to imagine. Whereas in the show it was so beautiful and they really captured some nice shots of Greece, and then the wedding was like gorgeous, and they really like honed in on that for a full like half an episode, which I really appreciated. I liked that they had a focus on that wedding because it made the marriage feel more genuine and real, and yeah, you kind of understood a bit more where Daisy was coming from, it why she married Nikki. But yeah, he was, in the book he was more of a dickhead. Like in the show, Nikki was alright for the first like little bit. He seemed like a decent person, which again I think just suited the adaptation version better. So it really just depends. I think that it worked well in the adaptation. Okay, and finally we're gonna just really focus on Billy and Daisy and how their relationship develops in that last episode. Like, that last episode was so good. I didn't like how Daisy didn't sing the changed lyrics, you know, in the book, how she like switches over to the old lyrics again to really make a point for Billy to go back to Camilla and that they're not going to work out and everything. But also I feel like it it wasn't necessarily needed in the show because there was so many other factors like going into that. Like they actually got Billy back on drugs, which I don't think that happened in the book. I know he started drinking a little bit again, but in the adaptation he got back onto the drugs. He made out with Daisy like multiple times, and in the show he didn't. Like I mean not in the show, in the book he didn't, whereas in the show he did. And I thought that was a bit weird, but also like it worked for the adaptation. But yeah, in the book he didn't do anything wrong, so you kind of feel for him a bit more because you want him and Camilla to get back together because you know that he's not cheated on her. Whereas in the show you know he has actually cheated on her, and you know that Camilla has cheated on him with Eddie. So you kind of, I don't know how to feel about that. It was a bit weird. But yeah, that last scene really like hit when they were doing their last concert and he had to run off stage and he realised, but I just wish that she had changed the lyrics back. But I don't know if in the adaptation it would have been as significant as it was in the book, because obviously you're watching it, not reading it. So I don't know if people who were just watching it for the first time and without having read the book would understand the significance of the lyrics changing, or would even like notice that the lyrics had changed if they haven't like listened to the song many times before. So I do understand why they did that again, but it was different. It did hit good. It didn't hit as good though. I love how they played on with the interview thing and how it was in the book, because sometimes they tend to get rid of stuff like that, and that is such a big part of the storyline, like how Julia is interviewing all of the band members like years later, and then how she rekindles Daisy and Billy after Camilla passes away, and it's a really like beautiful ending to the show. So I'm so glad that they put that in there and like made the effort to keep that as consistent as possible with the book. But yes, they are my opinions on the show adaptation. I did really enjoy watching it. Obviously I think the book is better, but as are all books, better than shows most of the time, like in adaptations. But I do think it was quite accurate, and like the things that weren't accurate I think were good for an adaptation version, so I understand why they would have taken that approach. But yes, I hope you've enjoyed watching this vlog, and hopefully I'll do another one soon. But I 100% recommend reading Daisy Jones and the Six because it is one of my new favourite books ever. It was just incredible. Like I can't even explain it. I think everyone should read this book. Like no matter who you are or what age you are or what gender you are, I think you should read this book. It is so interesting and so well written and just such complex characters, and I love it so much. Yes, thank you so much.